And it probably helps to turn on the camera.
Got it.
Okay, can you see my NetBeans?
Yep.
Okay, so what I did is, um, make a long story short, I essentially started over. I created the project using Maven, and that makes certain assumptions about the directory structure and what kind of stuff you're going to do. Uh, that was step one. Step two was actually adding all the dependencies. Also, again, using let me pull it up here. Using Maven to do it. Now, if you look at, this is the POM file that's driving this whole thing. Um, you see, uh, we've got Hibernate in here, not the current version, because for whatever reason this particular widget didn't put it in. But you've got your Java persistent API in there. You've got your MySQL connection in there, and the rest of it is just pretty vanilla. Telling you what the structure of the thing is going to be. It's going to generate a jar file, and this is the name of it, yada yada. So that was the basis, and everything you see here was generated based on that POM file. So if you look at, like, for example, the Java dependencies are split out separately from the application dependencies. So obviously we needed a JDK for it. Uh, and here's the other dependencies. Right now it doesn't have any JUnit or any of that stuff. It's just bare bones. Um, if you look at the resources, okay, let me back up one step. Before you do the swing thing, you, again, using NetBeans tools, you create your Hibernate stuff, and you can obviously, all the projects I've seen so far in our class do this by hand, but you don't have to, right? You can, the sequence of events. I wasn't prepared to talk about this. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. The sequence of events is, um, once you get your things defined based on what type of application, right? This is a Hibernate application, which means there's a database, right? Once you get those things defined, and I don't have MySQL up in this, but the way you work it is you create the database, you've got MySQL running with that database running, and then you connect from your application to the database instance. And once you do that, Hibernate is able to go out and look at the database, and then you can make it do all these things. You don't have to do it by hand. You can make it do all these things. For example, um, you've got a connection string. It's just like any other sort of app. You've got an entity. An entity is, let's look at this one. This is an entity, and what they mean by entity is basically a form of DAO that maps, using Hibernate ease, maps your database table structure to Hibernate. So this eagle.java is automatically generated once you say, okay, this is the table I'm using. You see, here's the table
Mm-hmm.
that we're talking about. Uh, I'm using this table in the database, and these are the fields, the columns that I'm using. And you basically, it's gonna generate uh, all your POJOs for you with the appropriate data types and all that sort of stuff. So, like I said, you can generate all this stuff by hand, um, but my brain just doesn't work it that way. So anyway, so you've got this thing, okay, and now you've got up here. If you look under this default package, you also get along for the ride some stuff that you have probably seen when you've looked at your Hibernate stuff. The session factory, and it's very simple, right? It's very simple stuff. All it's doing is setting up all the things that you need so that you can connect to the database. All right, so now you see under Eagle.ui is the user interface stuff, right? So if you look at that, here's the swing stuff. And again, this is done using the toolkit that's built into NetBeans, and it also allows you, for example, let's look at here. If I get to this field, if I look at this column, I see properties like you would expect, right? But one of the things you get is this binding piece, right? And that's where you can actually do the connection. This is how do I explain this? This is where you connect the UI items that you've generated on Swing to a particular thing to do with the database. Okay, so for example, this description is mapped using Hibernate and this Swing toolkit to that column in that table in that database, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is a really rudimentary piece, but what it lets you do is, for example, uh, this. Let me run it. It'll probably bomb because I don't have MySQL running. But let me try to describe this. These drop-down lists, these combo boxes is what Swing calls them. The intent was to hook those to the appropriate lookup tables that we had in the database that Brandon put together. So Eagle type is a lookup table, county found is a lookup table, and so you would be able to pick those from this combo box rather than typing them in.
Right.
Does that make sense?
100%.
I don't know if it'll run because I usually run this on my Mac, and I'm not sure I have my MySQL on here. Anyway, so that's the way that started. So again, what I tried to do was the intent was once this infrastructure was put together to pull some of those code files that we already had created, right? That did the HTTP URL and did some of the other functions, and pull those into this. And this obviously would not be the only screen because there's no way to do things, right? This started off, if you look, there's a query button. Well, that query button is not hooked to anything, but the idea is the code behind the query button is HQL, and that makes it sort of database independent. And so what you would do is you could enter this stuff on another screen and press query if you wanted to see those results, you know, that sort of thing. Is that clear as mud?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this
Um,
config file that is sort of um, it's the thing for me that was most challenging to get my head around just looking at it as an XML file. If you do it in NetBeans, it sort of abstracts all that stuff, and so you end up um, you end up doing the stuff that you would rather do. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of this code behind that NetBeans will do for you. Eclipse will do the same thing, but it's all based on starting from a particular point, and that point is Maven. You tell Maven, this is the kind of thing I want to do. Maven says, oh, I know how to do that. It generates a directory structure. Let me see if I can even find it. Let's see. Uh, so this directory structure minus the SQL, because I added that from Brandon's table definitions. All this stuff was generated by Maven. So it does a lot of the work for you. And in fact, you can even use Maven to build the whole project. You don't even need NetBeans for that. You can do that.
So it's like Android Studio in a way. It looks like.
It's very similar. It's very similar. And in
Okay.
fact, you can do all of these kind of things. Uh, Android Studio, their build tool of choice is Gradle. But it's essentially the same thing. I mean, it's a build tool. You define things, and you could run this and generate this entire project from the command line if you wanted to. Once you had your dependencies and all that stuff in the project, you could drop out to a terminal and tell Maven to build the whole thing, and it would. Right? So it's actually pretty slick. So these things are all the ones I'm showing you now in my directory. Those are all I didn't do any code. All of these things were generated by Maven.
Cool.
And as I said, it was generated by Maven based on, hey, Maven says to you, what kind of project do you want to build? Oh, you're going to connect to a database. Oh, so are you going to use Hibernate? Oh, do you want to do some unit tests? Oh, sure. So I'll throw all that stuff in there absolutely for you. All these config files, all these XML files that you could do by hand, all that stuff is automatically generated. Now the swing portion is not automatically generated. You have to, uh, you have to go in there and do it. But once
Right.
you define the relationships between the particular directory or the particular screen objects to the database that you're using, it will generate that code. And just, all you got to tell it is, hey, this combo box equals this column in this table in this database.
Right.
Doing. So anyway, that's sort of the long-winded. I apologize for that sort of long-winded, but that was the idea.
Cool.
But I never got it. I never got it any further because I frankly just ran out of time.
Well, so for now then, like I think looking at let me share my screen.
Yeah, let me unshare mine.
Looking at what we have so far, then.
I'm glad. I'm glad somebody else likes the dark background.
It's great. Yeah,
I like it, but I found it was a little difficult when I was doing my presentation to get it to record properly. It's probably my connection.
Oh, okay. So really quick, guys, what I'm kind of just doing for this, since we don't have the database connection, and I haven't been able to get that up, that's the one I probably am not going to get a great grade on because I've had a hard time with that one. But so within here we have the like find eagle or report eagle. So what I've just been doing is I'm just going to come into each of these different files. Um, I'm in the wrong one. I'm still in the wrong one. Who the heck is my report eagle? Oh, that's a hibernate. Alright, here you go. So in here, I'm basically gonna just create strings,
Mm-hmm.
and then depending on if the user enters one or whatever, I'm just gonna edit all this code so that at least I'm using JSON in a way, and then I'm just gonna basically create it so that it outputs that onto a file on the local system. That
Okay.
way, for now, do that.
Okay.
Um, but I guess going from here, looking at the topics that we have, is everyone okay with just presenting what we have so far? Or do you think we can do things before Saturday? Because we're going to plan on, so Rachel, we're going to plan on recording Saturday.
Oh, okay. What time so I can be
What
there?
time works for you?
As
Any
long as it's after 6.
Okay, I can do any time after 6. I'm
Okay.
reasonable with whoever said that.
So we just plan on 6 then?
Well, do you want to do 6:30, Danny, or are you okay at 6?
Yeah, let's do 6:30. I get off at 6. That gives me time to get home.
Okay.
We'll plan on that. I'm trying to
Are you gonna, Brandon? Are you gonna upload your?
my presentation. Let me pull that up. Rachel probably needs to see that too. All right, so in here, I've kind of taken everything that we've done from our Google Drive, which is, pull that up.
It looks cool. I like the pictures.
I
He
just
took
can't, I just can't do plain backgrounds.
he took them all himself.
I what?
You took them all yourself.
The Huma Hua?
You took them all.
Took all what?
You're the
All the pictures.
photographer, man.
Oh, yeah, that definitely didn't work. All right, so looking at this, we got to come in here and we have all of our different things in here. So basically what I'm going to do is I put at the very end a lot of our documentation, I put the link to it. That way they can come into the actual, that way our slides aren't like forever long. They can actually just come in after and then the professor can go through all of our stuff here. So obviously I'll go through and clean that out and make sure everything's good before we end. Besides that though, so I can't post this up on the cloud or anything because it's a keynote presentation, not a PowerPoint or anything. So if you guys just want to send me your information, so for example, Rachel, with your Scrum stuff, we can go through here, put it in here. And so then basically so we'll just basically go over these main slides, um, basically keeping it simple. We're not going to really make it a ton of, there'll be more talking during this part instead of just having a bunch of stuff that's already there that we're going to talk about, because that's kind of pointless. So we'll have all that up, and then over here and on slide 9, we'll then go over to our code, and we can talk about our code. And so I have in here on the bottom left for everybody kind of who's going to talk about this part. So Dan will start, go to Matt, go to Brandon, go to Rachel. Rachel, kind of this whole methodology thing. And then team success. Danny, do you want to talk about that? And then we can also talk about like the application as well.
Team success. So what we actually got done, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that shouldn't take too long.
Can I see the 2 slides for the agile methodology?
Yeah, I haven't really added anything to it. Just you don't. It doesn't have to be 2 slides either. We could get rid of this.
Yeah,
I
because
know what.
what's on the Google Drive slide is just bullet points. If you could just add those, it'll just help me remember what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So Rachel, what you're saying is you already put that stuff on the Google Drive version?
Yeah, like because I thought that's what we were using,
Put them on the next slide, Brandon.
so that's why.
Yeah.
If you could just put it there, yeah. That's pretty much what I'll just be talking about.
Yeah.
And you can take away how we implement it. I don't know if you want to keep it there. It's up to you. I just left it there because it was already there.
Okay. So then,
Do we want the diagram you just made?
the diagram I just
Right. Rachel.
Oh, I didn't make those diagrams. Those were created by Dan, I think.
No, I'm talking about what you said you put together for the Scrum, not diagram, sorry, outline.
Oh,
You want that in there at all?
it's pretty long. I don't know if it'd be more like
Okay.
something to just say. To look more at, I don't know if we want to show it, like just a glimpse of it, or it's, I don't know how you guys want that, because I don't want to take up too much time.
this correct.
Yeah, and totally you guys can like adjust it. I took a lot of stuff away. I just basically took a template and added what we did and deleted some things that we didn't do.
Okay.
Because we kind of followed it, but kind of not. So that's what Agile is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then basically at the end, then we can go over our app, and then we should be good then to record on Saturday at 6:30. Does anyone have any questions?
No.
I'm excited for this to be over.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay then. So, is anyone still going to be doing any developing within the application?
I don't think so. I think it is what it is.
Okay. So I'll still work on a few things. I'll try to get, like Rachel, I know you had this HTTP URL connection. I'm going to try to get that one to actually output, probably pull it into some of the Find Eagle and Report Eagle. And Danny, thanks for working on this one. I guess Justin's not in our group anymore, or must have just planned on not doing this part of the class. So, has anyone heard from Miles? I don't think we've seen him all semester. So,
Not since like week 4 or 5, somewhere in there.
And Steven's not in our group anymore, I guess.
yeah, well, I think he is. He just didn't
I was gonna say, wasn't he at a team meeting literally like 3 weeks ago?
Like, yeah, so I didn't just do it.
But he got out of our team chat, and I was like, okay.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
not sure. So
whatever.
Yeah.
we'll just plan on that then. So any questions anyone has?
Looks good.
6:30.
Yep.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank
See you
you.
then.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.